It is time. It is time to talk about Mother Mary. I have been waiting for this video for a while. I've been putting it off a little bit because Mother Mary is a very big topic, specifically for Catholics, because during the time of the Renaissance and late medieval, they elevated her to such a prominent place that she's equal to Jeshua in their mystical stature in the Catholic faith. Much like her son, she did not think of herself as holier than thou or mightier than thou. She was a mother. She was a mother. And not only was she a mother of someone who really had profound wisdom and profound knowledge and was bringing a message of peace and love to a violent and dangerous world. He was bringing a message of self-empowerment in a time when governments were taking power from the people. She was someone who believed everything that her son said, who could tell you it forward and backward, could teach right alongside him, but didn't, because that wasn't the mother's place. She was very much a mother. She had a twinkle in her eye, and I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure that that's where his blue eyes came from her side of the family. I didn't really know Joseph, so but I know that she had a way of smiling and twinkling. Her eyes would literally twinkle, like some people who just have a twinkle in their eye. She was one of those. She liked to smile. She liked to laugh. She was not loud, but she was fiercely defensive of her son and sons, and in the time that I spent with her, I got to know her pretty well. Well, Johannes Ben Zebedee did. Got to know her pretty well because he for all intents and purposes, she became his mother. And when they left Jerusalem, she was, and Mary Magdalene both were inconsolable. You could not, they just wept and wept and wept and wept and wept and wept for days. And then they were depressed for months. And when Mary was in Galilee after that, she was very quiet. She thought you could see her in deep thoughts every day, right? And it came down to the point where me and my family, my James and siblings were very much taking care of her, and I mean like making sure she ate, making sure that she, because she was not in a good place after the crucifixion. She came back, and people would come to see her, and eventually she would talk about it, and eventually as she talked about it, she would share the lessons, and she would teach the things, and she would, but every so often she would have to stop, and walk away because it was depressing for her. She was the whole idea of losing her. It was losing her son in that way was just. I must have been. If I was going to say anything, she must have had post-traumatic stress, in her depression over that. She was loving, she was caring, but like I said, fiercely protective, and very much a person who could who could give you a smile, and you could feel her smile, because it was just like one of those people that you just, when she smiled, it was pardon me, from the heart. Pardon me, it's very early in the morning. I just dropped my son off at school, so I'm a little tired. I guess my biggest point that I would make about Mother Mary is that, much like her son, she was a human. Much like her son, she believed in the equality of everyone, male, female, everyone. Much like her son, she believed that God was love. And much like her son, she did not believe in war and anger and judgment. And I think that's part of the reason why the crucifixion was so hard for her, because it seemed to be antithetical to the teachings. But she understood the reason why. But she had a it seemed to be antithetical to the teachings. That's basically what I can say about that, because I don't really know, the deep workings of her mind, because it was her mind, She didn't know mine, I didn't know hers, and you don't know the person next to you, and you don't know what your brothers and sisters are really thinking about in your own family, because it's you can't dive into their head. But I will say, when I took her off to Turkey, it was because of the fact that it was becoming known that she was there. At that point, Mary Magdalene, Mary Magdalene's family had already come and taken her back to Magdala, and I don't know what actually happened to her, because I never actually saw her again, because my life took me in a different path. But I took Mother Mary to Turkey, to Ephesus, and in Ephesus she stayed with someone else. I remember the name is Timothy. Somebody just recently asked me whether he was a disciple. One of the things I'll say about that is the word disciple has so many meanings to so many people these days. If we're talking about was he one of the 12? I don't think so. I think the name Timothy was translated in my memory, because it would never have been Timothy. If he was Greek, it would have been Ephthemios. But I ended up leaving Mary in Ephesus and went off, because the inner circle, which is known as the 12, I guess, were kind of like organizationally in charge of regions, and so we were like the bishops of regions. So I had a job to do. I had to go, teach and organize these areas to keep Jeshua's teachings alive. And so I went off and did that, eventually being arrested and sent to an island, Patmos. But I did not get back to see her and I'm pretty sure she passed before I got back. I know that supposedly she's buried just outside of Ephesus, and supposedly John's, Johannes ben Zebedee's, my tomb is in Ephesus as well, and it's one place that I definitely want to go at some point in my life. I want to go to Patmos and Ephesus so I can experience those places. Um, but as of now, I have been to Israel, Greece, Jordan, Egypt, and then, of course, I've been to a lot of other places too. Interestingly enough, when I did the USO tours, I did 6 USO tours from 2001 to 2006. I didn't realize how much of the Bible was in Iraq. And I stood at the home of the prophet Abraham. I performed at a base that was at the oasis that Abraham slept at on the way to Ur. We refueled our helicopters on the archaeological site of Babylon. So I got to see all these historical sites and was taken to all these historical sites by the USO. So I've seen a lot of the places, and I've been, I stood on top of the ziggurat of Ur, from the town of Ur. And so in that life with Mary, I also had to travel, and I also had to go to all these various places and do all that work, because that's what I was tasked to do. And so Mary, I hope I did right by her. And in my regression, she came in and she said, because you took care of me then, I'm taking care of you now. So I guess I did okay. So that's my thoughts on Mary. I know that goes against a lot of teaching. I know a lot of the things I say go against a lot of the teachings. This I promise you. I will never bow to someone else's teachings. I will only bow to what I remember and what I feel. And because it's what I remember and what I feel. But once again, I'm going to say this, and I say this a lot, but I want to say it again. I never ask you to believe what I believe. My only thing I ask is that if it feels true, then you can take it or not. But it's up to you. So you guys have a great day, and I'll talk to you soon. See ya. Bye.